my name is Dale Kingsmill, and this is my first blog post for BCM 112. Now, I was thinking about a bunch of different things and had to narrow down exactly what I was going to talk about in this first post, because I wanted to talk about things like after Ted's talk in the lecture about the lecture hall itself as a medium, and what it does and what it changes about the dynamics of the people in the room and the power systems that it's reinforcing. And all I could think about was what changes with that when I'm sitting at home watching it on Echo 360 on my computer and playing Pokemon on an emulator in a window to the side. I mean, what changes about those power dynamics then when the camera angle has me placed in a higher position looking down on Ted, when I have the ability to push the time backwards and revisit something that I didn't quite hear, or, those sorts of things. What changes when it's a 2-hour lecture and I am watching it on a system that makes it more like a 3-hour lecture, but I can also control what parts I'm focusing on. What changes about the medium when it's a medium within a medium. Talk about convergence, right? I also wanted to talk about what is quickly becoming my catchphrase, the way I believe that, audience have never been passive, and passivity versus activity has nothing really to do with new mediums so much as, ease and comfort and speed are more what's going on. Like, look at this. With this new media, I can be filming a vlog for my class on my phone in the comfort of my own bed. But what I think I'm actually going to end up talking about, briefly now, given that I have talked about those other things I'm claiming I wasn't going to talk about, is this concept from the readings of the message is the change, and we can see the changes that are happening to society, what it does to, different situations, different groups of people. The medium is the message is the change. That sort of thing that was in one of the readings for this week. The more of these digital media classes I do, and the more early texts, and particularly academic texts that I read, which talk about new media and particularly talk about the web and the internet, a huge amount of them are just painfully naive and idealistic and utopian. The reading is there talking about how we can see ahead of time the changes that are going to come to a society based on these new technologies, and if we deem that change to be detrimental, we have the time to stop that from happening. But who gets to decide what is detrimental? Who gets to decide what changes are going to be allowed and what changes aren't? And ultimately, that is still the same elite group of educated white guys in the West. Those are the people that established web spaces. We've got those people in companies now. Like, look at the example of what's going on YouTube with copyright content at the moment. This technology is allowing for us to move beyond that, but because it's going to disadvantage, not even disadvantage companies, it's just going to mean that they're not raking in quite as much cash. They're just getting a death grip on these copyright laws and making it harder and harder and harder for new content to be generated. They have decided on their own that this change is detrimental, not necessarily to society as a whole, but to them and their practices. So they want to stamp that out. And then you've got spaces on the web, like sometimes I'm asked why I'm not big into online gaming if I'm a gamer and I consider myself a gamer, or why I'm not on Reddit when I love social media. And ultimately that's because I'm a female geek on the internet. That is a thing that people in these spaces are openly hostile towards, because these spaces were made by white men who were in privileged positions, and they get to enforce boundaries. They have declared themselves gatekeepers, and they will enforce those. They have decided these changes are detrimental. And I think a lot of these early texts just, I wish I could be as optimistic as the people who are writing them, but ultimately I think it's just a fundamental misunderstanding of what things like sexism and racism and homophobia are. It's not just down to bodies and the physical so much as it's a system that has been enforced and reinforced over time, and the privileged get to set up this new system. It is a new place, it is a new space, a new geography. The people who get to discover it first are the same people who've always been in positions of privilege. So I'm a little bit skeptical. So anyway, them some of my thoughts. Let me know what some of your thoughts are. There's a comment space below. You can do that, and I will read them, and it will be good. It's a great sign-off, Dale. Great sign-off.